All right, so we've added complex numbers, we've subtracted complex numbers, we've multiplied complex numbers. Now the last thing that we're going to look at is dividing complex numbers. So we have to address the issue of what happens when we have an I in the denominator. So let's say it's like 4 over 3I. So there's not anything else in the denominator except just a number and an I. They're right next to each other. We're not talking about the case where it's 4 over 2 minus 3I. This is something completely different. We'll address it in the next video. Do not worry about that right now. Only thing we're looking at is there's just an I in the bottom. To get it out of the bottom, what we have to do is multiply top and bottom by I. Well, why can we do that? Well, I divided by I is just 1. So we can multiply anything we want to by 1. So we're just going to multiply by I over I. 4 times I, 4I. 3I times I is 3I squared. If you think back to what we've been doing, you'll realize that I squared is equivalent to negative 1. So we have 4I over 3 times negative 1. So 4I over negative 3, and that would be your final solution. So anytime we have I on the bottom, multiply top and bottom by I. One more example. Let's say we have 5 over 2I. There's just an I in the bottom. Multiply top and bottom by I over I. So we get 5I over 2I squared. That's a negative 1, so that's 5I over 2 times negative 1. And that's going to give us 5I over negative 2. That would be your solution. A little bit more complex of an answer now. If we're working through a problem that has 4 minus 2I over 5I. So the bottom hasn't changed. There's still just an I in the bottom. So that means our process hasn't changed at all. So that means we need to multiply top and bottom by I over I. Well, now the top has changed, but that doesn't affect this. But I still have to multiply that out. Okay, so 4 times I is 4I. Negative 2I times I is negative 2I squared over 5I times I, 5I squared. Now we need to go back and fix our I squareds. All of our I squareds become negative 1. 4I minus 2 times negative 1 over 5 times negative 1. So that's 4I plus 2 over 5. Rewrite this so that the real part comes first. 2 plus 4I over 5. That is your solution. You always need to check the 3 numbers and make sure that we can't simplify it. So 2, 4, and 5. Nothing goes into those. We can leave it alone. Okay, but if this was like a 2, 4, and a 6, then that means we could divide each one of them by 2 and simplify it. But we can't do anything to this. One more problem along the same type. 7 plus 3I divided by negative 4I. I want you to try that one on your own and then come back to the video to check your solution. There's just an I on bottom, so you should have multiplied top and bottom by I. So that gives us, distributing out the top, 7I plus 3I squared divided by negative 4I squared. Replace all the I squareds with negative 1s. 7I plus 3 times negative 1 over negative 4 times negative 1. Multiply it out. 7I minus 3 over positive 4. Rewrite this so that the real part goes first. Negative 3 plus 7I over 4. All right, hopefully that helped you figure out what to do when we just have an I on the bottom. Nothing else other than an I. Okay,